Oh my God. This week has been insane. 3 episodes, 2 videos per episode. I did it. I barely survived, but I survived. One of the hardest things, though, has been avoiding all other content and opinions and theories. Like, I've actively avoided any reviews or breakdowns or any videos or anything by other content creators, a lot of whom are my friends, and I like watching their stuff. I've even, like, the comments on my videos, I've been skimming them because I'm trying to avoid other people's theories and opinions because I want to make sure that my thoughts are my own. And it's so hard not to be colored by somebody else's opinions once you've heard them or read them. So this is it. This is the last video I make about those first three episodes. And the second I upload this, I am beginning to marathon a ton of Wheel of Time content. And I'm so excited about it. So my last video about episode 3, A Place of Safety, was a spoiler-free review, safe for people who have not read the Wheel of Time books. This video is the opposite. This video is spoilers out, baby. Like, I'm going spoilers through to Towers of Midnight, which is the second to last book in the Wheel of Time series. So if you have not read the Wheel of Time books, I do not recommend watching this video. I do not want to spoil anything for you. So with that warning out of the way, if you've not read the books, bye. The rest of you, let's get into it.
Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, let's be nerdy. Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, babe. Let's be nerdy, let's be nerdy, babe.
So obviously, if you know me, you know I loved this cold open. We see Nynaeve using all of her resources, whatever she has at hand, just to win. Nynaeve is nothing if not resourceful. She uses the Trollocs' own blade to kill it. That's fantastic. And then later on, like when Lan grabs her, she bites him. she took a bite out of Lan. Anyway, sorry. Whatever. This may feel like a stretch, but that to me it's just so very Nynaeve. This is the Nynaeve who, in the middle of a one-power battle, will punch a Black Ash's sister in the face, or she will throw something at a Forsaken. She will use whatever she has, whatever she can get her hands on in a fight to win. And she has absolutely no qualms about fighting dirty, and I love it. I will note, though, there is a change between Book Nynaeve and Show Nynaeve that I'm mostly not dwelling on at the moment, but it's there. Nynaeve in the books would never not treat a sick person. Like, we see this in Eye of the World. She actually says this. She despises Moraine, but she treats her anyway. No one even has to ask. She does it because that's what she does. In the show, she threatens to not treat Moraine. Now, I have mentioned a couple of times the unreliable narrator aspect of this story. So I think just because she says that she wouldn't treat Moraine doesn't actually mean that she would necessarily let Moraine die, but I'm not dwelling on it because I don't feel like I know Show Nynaeve well enough yet to make an assessment. I know that they're not going to be exactly the same, and I am prepared for that, so this might be one of those things that changes. One of those things that separates Book Nynaeve and Show Nynaeve. I don't know. For me, this one is a wait and see, right? Like, I don't necessarily think that I would hate it if she would have chosen to not treat Moraine, because I know that her motivation wasn't spite. Like, her motivation was to save her friends. So, I don't know. It's just something I noticed. It was notably different, so I notably noticed it. Oh, okay. And staying with this early scene, like these early scenes, I mentioned before that I'm curious to know what never readers are picking up on. Like if they picked up on things like the skyscrapers or the bridge. When Nynaeve kills the Trolloc in the pool and the blood comes up in the shape of the dragon's fang, it divides the pool into the ancient symbol of the Aes Sedai there. As a book reader, I know that this was intentional, so I know that that's CGI, right? But I'm very curious to know if somebody with no knowledge of the books, no knowledge of what a dragon's fang or the Aes Sedai symbol is, if they just took that as how the blood came up, or if they wondered like what that shape was. Looking forward to watching some reactions and finding out. Another difference in characterization. Rand is the one who is wanting to go to the White Tower. Or, okay, more to the point, Rand is the one who is not wanting to go home, and Mat is the one lobbying for going back to the Two Rivers. this is kind of opposite from the books. It does make sense, though, with, Matt's new backstory and his sisters to care for in lieu of his rather incompetent parents. But okay, now that I'm thinking about this, though, I do wonder where they're going to go with this, because I doubt that they will have Matt return home, but his sisters will still be there. So is that just going to be a constant thing, like hanging over his head? I don't know. Maybe when Perrin goes back, but even Perrin doesn't go back forever. So at some point, Matt's parents either have to get their act together, or his sisters have to find a better home, or it's going to seem really odd that Matt never goes back, given that they're making his sisters his main motivation. Again, though, I'm not upset about this change. I find it interesting, and I'm really curious to know where they go with it. There was a fun line here saying all roads lead to or I think it was all roads lead to the White Tower, I think. But it was an obvious allusion to Tar Valon being sort of a in-world version of the Vatican. All roads lead to Rome. I gotta admit, I got a little bit of a chuckle out of Matt saying that's not how roads work. And in fact, actually, a lot of the banter between Matt and Rand got a chuckle out of me. So good job, writers. Perrin and Egwene. I think we're going to get more of their story in episodes to come. This episode felt kind of like an intro to their part of the story. A slight difference between show Perrin and book Perrin. Show Perrin doesn't seem to be put off at all by Egwene channeling, which I liked, to be honest. Also, I have to say, I am really enjoying the chemistry between them, between Egwene and Perrin. Not sexual chemistry or anything, but friendship chemistry. I found them just super sweet together. The way they both protected each other and comforted each other in different ways. It was just lovely. Lan and Nynaeve. Oh man, I am so enjoying seeing the beginning of their flirtation, because in Eye of the World we're so much in Rand's head, like Rand's perspective, that we don't get to see this. So many people, I know myself included, didn't catch it at all on a first reread, and I like plenty of people do. Or don't catch it. I constantly see posts about people like, "Oh, that came out of nowhere." You see it on a reread, but the first time through, a lot of people miss it. So it's so fun being able to watch this, because it's like a behind the scenes, or it's a scene that we didn't get to see. I love it. Seeing him so impressed with the fact that Nynaeve tracked him. He's really curious about it. Moraine is lying there unconscious, and his priority, his questions to Nynaeve are not, how are you going to treat her? It's, how did you find me? I love seeing this. He is attracted to her competence, and it's amazing. He even watches her make her poultice. I was right about that word, by the way. Later on in the episode, she uses that word. But yeah, he watches that with interest. I am so into this. Oh, yay! Then we get a dream sequence with Layla and Perrin, and okay, so Hopper, or like generic wolf number 2 or whatever, is eating at her corpse. This could tie in with the possibility of her being a darkfriend. I'm very much on the fence about that, but it is a possibility. And like I said, even if she is a darkfriend or whatever, it doesn't lessen her fridginess. It just maybe makes it a smaller fridge. Okay, so I should talk about this actually. So like I said, I've been avoiding other people's content to try and make sure that my thoughts and my videos are my own, to the point that I've only been skimming the comments on my own videos. But I have seen at least the beginning of a lot of comments trying to explain this to me, right? To say that, yes, this may be a fridging, but they've done it in order to better explain Perrin's character, Perrin's arc, his resistance to violence. And like, yeah, that's literally what fridging is. Like, brutalizing a female character in service of a male character's narrative. Those comments are literally just explaining or defining fridging in an attempt to justify fridging. It's a fridging. You can color it however you want. She is a character created, and okay, yes, I know that she shows up in the Shadow Rising, but I'm still going to say created, because she barely exists in the Shadow Rising. She's like a name and a background. Her name and her story, whatever, has been lifted from book 4 and put into book 1. She has been created as a different entity in book 1 in order to service the character arc of a male character. All the actors are doing a good job with it. It's not badly written. It's a well-written, well-acted, very tired, and very overused trope that has overtones of misogyny in it. Not that the show or the writers are misogynist, but I'm over-explaining. It's a fridging plotline. Telling me why they did it is literally just defining fridging. But okay, sorry about that. Back to the actual episode. According to the subtitles, I would not have caught this without the subtitles. When the corpse turns to him, she says, "I know." And I think this is just Perrin's guilt, because everyone thinks that the Trollocs were the ones that killed Layla, but he knows it was his backswing, and he hasn't told anyone. Although I think he almost told Egwene, and I hope he does. I hope that she's the first one that he tells, possibly even the only one, because I'm loving their friendship. I'm loving how it feels in the show. In the books, Egwene is the first person to know about the wolves, and she never tells a soul. Like, it would be in character, like even from the books, it would be in character for him to trust her with this. Okay, so now we get to the meat of this episode. Breen Spring. And they were so clever with this. They created a new town with a new name so we wouldn't have any associations or expectations to make. And then, I mean, at least this is how it worked for me. They named the character Dana, so if we made any connection with the books, we would be likely to connect her with Dina. Especially because in this episode is where Thom is introduced. So even with the ominous music as they came into town and the corpse hanging in the square, the way they had built this, I was just predisposed to not see this coming, and I love that. Okay, but on a rewatch, or it might have been like maybe the third rewatch, I caught something that I doubt anybody would catch the first time, but I'm sure some of you have by now. The tavern where Dana works. Look outside. These 4 pillars, they're like, it's 4 statues. I think they're 4 kings. This is the 4 Kings Tavern. This is so good. This is just for us. This is just for us, just book fans. It's a clue that I guarantee 99% of us didn't catch, and I love it. The actress who played Dana was perfection. She played that role just so well. All the facets of it. She was effortlessly charming at the beginning, and then she was menacing, and then passionate and devoted to the Dark One. She played all of those things so well. I loved it. I did not see it coming at all. I keep saying that, but it makes me so happy that I didn't see it coming. And just a side note, I think she realized that Rand was channeling. When she saw the door move, she had a look of hope on her face, like maybe she thought, I found the one. Like, it was really cool. It was also interesting seeing her reasons for turning to the dark. Most dark friends in the books are in it for the glory or the power or whatever. Ishi wants oblivion, but he's probably the only dark friend, like he's a Forsaken, but whatever, he's a dark friend, that we see with that specific goal. But that appears to be what Dana wants, it's just super interesting. I mean, it does make sense that different people would go to the dark for different reasons, but I don't know, it's just interesting to see that the first dark friend, it's not the first. We did see Pat and Vane, and of course there's Leandrin, and then there's possibly Layla, but we haven't really spent much time with any of them, so, but whatever. The first dark friend that we actually get to know has the same goals as Ishamael, which is kind of cool. Other notes on this particular storyline, that stew looked gross, and it was kind of hilarious seeing Rand see how it was made after he'd eaten it. And, okay, less hilarious, more worrying note. When Rand points out that Mat usually goes for older women, this makes me worried about the possibilities of what they might be setting up with Tylan. I think most of you know my opinions of her and that storyline. Tylan is a thing that I can't say on YouTube without getting demonetized, but she did a bad thing, an unforgivable thing, and I know that they could change that for the show, but I kind of cringe at the idea of her character being being altered or like reformed in that way. Something about that feels kind of icky. Of course, they could be setting it up that they're going to deal with it sensitively, but or it could mean nothing at all. I have no idea, but that line, it made me nervous. I thought the subtle signs of the corruption from the dagger on Matt were kind of interesting. Non-book readers wouldn't know. They'll just think he's being pissy. But, all right. See, this is one of those things that I was talking about before. Like how I said how I miss the idea that Matt was just always good. In Eye of the World, he grumbles at having to help Rand with the apple brandy, but then he helps. Even Dagger Matt is grumbly, but he helps and nurses Rand back to health. And, as he transforms even more, we can see him becoming corrupted. Here in the show, we've seen Matt be very, very loyal to his sisters, but his sisters aren't here. So this change in his attitude isn't really visible. Like, maybe he has always been the type of guy who would have left Rand to chop all the wood. Book Matt wouldn't have been that guy, but maybe TV Matt always was. Or maybe this is Dagger influence. Without that fundamental goodness to him, it's not as clear. I do think that it is actually Dagger stuff, but it's just not as clear. Thom, I thought, was quite charming, which is good. That's what Thom needs to be. Although his personality feels very different to me than book Thom. He feels much more roguish to me. I do like TV Thom. He's fine. He's just, right now, for me, he's a different person. It's also interesting that they seem to be setting up more of a relationship between him and Matt rather than him and Rand. And for me, in the early books, it's Thom and Rand that I mostly think of together. Later on, of course, it's Thom and Matt. But in the early books, I think of the other pairing. But whatever, it's just interesting. Oh, I like his cloak. I always thought the visual of a patchwork cloak with patches that sort of flittered in the breeze. I've seen cosplay of it, and it's not really a look that I'm a fan of. It never looks stylish or, I don't know, it doesn't look like something that my idea of the personality that Thom is would wear. But this looks fashionable. It looks sleek. Thom can flourish it to show the patches if he wants to, or he can choose to hide it if he doesn't want to advertise who he is. I do admit, though, I had heard that the patches were going to be on the inside of his cloak, so I was expecting it. Maybe if I hadn't been expecting it, I know it would have shocked me or whatever, but being prepared for it and then seeing it, I liked what I saw. The song, though, okay. It's a good song. It's no Weep for Manetheren. Weep for Manetheren was amazing. This one was nice. Weirdly, though, every time I've heard it, and I think I've watched the episode 4, 5 times now, whatever, every time I've heard it, I don't know why. Maybe someone who knows music better than me can explain it to me, but it has reminded me of the song The Man They Call Jane from Firefly. I don't know. This song, though, not about Jane. Pretty sure it's about Lews Therin, right? Like, I'm hearing that right. I'm interpreting that right? I have nothing really to say about the Tinkers. They're fine, I guess. We just barely met them, but right now they aren't super interesting. The only thing of note, though, Isla did most of the talking instead of Rain. I think this might be sort of a symptom of the fact that the show, I think, is going for a more matriarchal world than the books do. I personally have never thought that the books were matriarchal. I think maybe formatting is a matriarchy, but the rest of the world, pretty much the same gender dynamics as the real world. I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, but that's how I feel. I think the show, though, is going matriarchal. Okay, I got to talk about the queer moments, all right? Dana suggests that Rand and Matt might be a couple, which obvious nod to all of the shipping and fanfic that exists of Rand and Matt during this, road trip portion of the story. But all right, this was particularly delightful to me because initially when she said that, I was 50-50 on it, right? She says she's putting them into a soundproof room so that they can basically have loud sex if they want. Half of my mind was like, oh, cool, just casual acceptance of homosexuality. Nice. The other half of my mind was, well, that was really shoehorned in. That didn't feel natural at all. But then later we find out that Dana put them in this room on purpose, right? To hide them from others. And yeah, it was unnatural, but it was unnatural by Dana, the character. She shoehorned in that explanation to make giving them this room make sense to Rand. It was a character doing it. It wasn't bad or clumsy writing. It was the character being a bit clumsy there. I hope I'm explaining this well. I hope that makes sense. I don't know, it made me really happy because at first I was like, oh, that was shoehorned in. And then I was like, oh, it was shoehorned in, but it was shoehorned in by the character, not the writers. I love that. It was really good. Quick question though. All right, as this is the last video that comes out before the next episode, so I don't have to worry about having my opinions tainted. Who do you think the fifth person is? Like when she says that I see all of you, the five of you in my dreams, who do you think that fifth person is? I'm leaning towards Logain, especially given the Logain reveal at the end. Plus, that aligns with my earlier theory that they're setting up Logain as a potential alternative to be the dragon. My second guess would be that it's Ishi, like that she's, including the four, ta'veren plus Ishamael in her list. But how about you? Who do you think that fifth person is? Okay, I have to end this on this note. There was another queer moment, or at least another possible queer moment, but I didn't catch this one until a reread, with a rewatch. I'm so used to saying reread. A rewatch with subtitles. So I guess it was a reread because I was reading. Whatever. Anyway, at one point, Moraine is semi-unconscious. She's just sort of, mumbling or fever dreams or whatever. And while she's mumbling, the subtitles say that she weakly whispers, "Swan." I am here for this. Please, please. I hate the Thom Moraine romance. I hate it with a passion, but this one I will take. Thank you. It may not be here, but I am already shipping TV Moraine and TV Swan, so let's go. Let's sail this ship. I am already on board. And okay, that's it. I may have more thoughts as time goes on, but these are my main spoilery thoughts about episode 3. This has been quite a week. I'm very glad. I took time off work for this. I'm really glad I did. I would not have been able to do this without that. But okay, anyway, let me know your thoughts on episode 3. And as this video is very, very spoilery, you can be as spoilery as you want in the comments. And yeah, if you want to talk about it more, you can always join my Discord. I will link that in the description below. And if you like my content and want to support me, you can always check out my Patreon. That will also be linked below. I'm so truly grateful to my patrons. You guys, I feel so motivated by your support. So thank you so much. And with that, I will end this here. So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.